ignored.
All over Europe, kids are walking out of class to protest about climate change. Now, it would be very easy to record a sneering video to say, oh yeah, well, it's much easier to skip double maths than an Ariana Grande concert. Why don't you protest at the weekend? Why are you disrupting schedules for your teachers? And indeed, several columnists have taken precisely that line. But I would rather do the marches the courtesy of taking them seriously. As a matter of fact, they recently included one of my teenage daughters. It was, I think, more in a spirit of curiosity than activism, but she attended the Brussels March while she was on half-term, and she was hugely impressed by how much effort and how much energy had been involved in the organisation. So let's instead ask the much more interesting question. What do the marchers imagine that they are marching against? Whom do they imagine that they are opposed to? Can we not take it as read that everybody supports the survival of the human race? I mean, that's not exactly setting the bar high. And yet it seems that in the minds of an awful lot of people, that is a contentious question. If you listen to what the marchers say, to what the demonstrators say, Jeremy Corbyn put out a video of some of them. No one cares. They don't want the planet to survive. I'm going to be the one who has to stay here. Stand back a step. Isn't it a fairly odd thing to assume that your opponents, however nasty they are, don't at least want their own children to be able to inherit the planet? I suppose, in fairness, a lot of us have this rather Manichaean view of goodies and baddies when we're teenagers. It's much easier to divide the world into good and bad people than into left and right, and to struggle with some of the issues. Look at young adult literature and you'll find that the authors very rarely bother to explain what makes the baddies bad, right? J.K. Rowling doesn't bother to explain why the Malfoys are nasty. That's just presented as a datum, a given in the plot. Most of us grow out of that stage. Most of us eventually realize that the world is a little bit more complicated. For example, climate change is being more tackled in Britain than in almost any other country on the planet. Carbon emissions are down 39% since 1990. They are now at their lowest level since 1888, or in population terms, since 1858. And one of the big reasons for that is that we closed the coal mines, which of course, or at least we took the subsidies away from the coal mines, which of course was something hugely opposed by the sorts of people who are now on these marches. Life is not always simple. The huge decline in carbon emissions in the US is being largely driven by fracking. Again, a technology loathed by a lot of the people marching. But rather than making trade-offs, they prefer to stay with their easy simplicities. Why would somebody pollute the planet? Why would somebody burn rainforests? Why would somebody pour gunk into the oceans? Because they're baddies, right? Now, as I say, most of us grow beyond that stage, but one or two people don't. And I realize the more time I spend in politics that a core of people on the self-righteous left have retained their Harry Potter view of politics into adulthood. Who put out that video of the self-righteous marchers? Jeremy Corbyn. How old is he? 69.